All right, today we're talking about cap rates, or specifically explaining the cap rate and what it is and why, if you're investing in real estate, you need to know everything about it. So essentially, a cap rate is a way to evaluate commercial real estate. So anybody who knows what commercial real estate is, if it's residential, meaning it's apartment units, it's in excess of 4 units. So 5 units or more is considered commercial, or any type of commercial property, meaning industrial, retail, strip malls, things of that nature, okay? How do you go about doing it? Essentially what it is a multiplier, a way of understanding, okay, this is how much cash flow it's throwing off, therefore it must be worth Y. Or in the reverse, it's sold for this, it's throwing off this amount of cash flow, therefore the cap rate should be Y. Now, let's understand a little bit about cap rates, for example. How you figure out what a cap rate is, there's a couple different equations. The correlation between cap rate and sales price is very simple. It's a measure of risk on top of it being a multiplier. The higher the cap rate, the cheaper the purchase price, the greater the risk, the greater the return. Okay, I'll say that again. If you have a cap rate of 10 versus a cap rate of 5, the building that you're buying at a 10 cap is gonna have a greater risk, think Detroit in 2009, than something that, let's say, has a cap rate of 5. Think Park Avenue, New York City. Now, obviously, it's gonna be cheaper to buy the property, and I'll explain that in a minute, but on top of that, it's directly related to the risk. Obviously, buying a property in downtown Detroit when it was an absolute disaster post-crash is a lot riskier than buying a building on Fifth Avenue in Manhattan where things don't really change. Okay? Now, how does cap rate affect value? Well, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna explain to you exactly the equation of why you need cap rate. So, NOI is the net operating income. Net operating income is extremely simple. All that is what's the income coming into the property? What are all the expenses, not including the mortgage? That gives your NOI, or net operating income. You take that net operating income and you divide it by the cap rate. The cap rate is typically a percentage, like 10%, 7%, 2%, 15%. You divide it by that, and that gives you essentially what your property is worth. So let's do an example on how NOI, cap rate, and value work. Let's say you have an apartment building that has an NOI of $100,000. Let's say you're in a 10 cap market, so it's 0.10 cap rate. You divide one by the other, it equals $1 million. The great thing about this is, and this is how real estate investors can make a tremendous amount of money. For every dollar that you increase your NOI, and by that you can do it by just decreasing expenses or increasing income, in a 10 cap market, your property is worth $10 more. So if this $100,000 is all of a sudden $120,000 in the same 10 cap market, the building is now worth $1.2 million. Now the exciting thing is, if you didn't have to renovate or spend any money and you could just increase the rents to get the additional $20,000, you just created $200,000 worth of equity in a property. A lot of you are probably thinking, well, how do I find out what the cap rate is? And is the cap rate the same in every market? Is it the same in every asset class?
No.
So, a few different ways to figure out what the cap rate is. Cap rates are different in every single market, every single micro market, and every single asset class. So the cap rate on industrial is not the same as the cap rate on multifamily, which is not the same as the cap rate on retail, which is not the same cap rate as on self-storage. They are all totally different. How do you find out? A number of different ways. You can go and speak to an informed local broker and you can ask them,
what is retail strip centers selling for? What is the cap rate?
And they'll give you a range.
Oh, they're 7 or 7.5.
Or
what is standalone retail, fast food, triple net selling for?
They're selling for 5 to 5.5.
If you want to go do your own research, what you can do is you can reverse engineer the value equation. If you don't know what the cap rate is, but you have comparable sales of commercial properties just like the one that you're looking to purchase or sell in that area, you take the NOI, because that's typically disclosed when somebody is marketing a property, and you take the sale price, ultimately what the property sold for, you divide one by the other, and that will give you the cap rate. And if you were to take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 different similar properties and do that equation, you can then have a blended average of roughly what the cap rate for that particular asset class is in that area. So that is the short version of cap rate explained, how it works, how to figure it out, and how you can use it to your benefit to make a lot of money in real estate. If you like this video, we got plenty others. Like, subscribe, leave me a comment, and I'll see you on our next educational vlog.